So today we're going to be tier ranking every book that I've given 5 stars within the last 5 years. I originally saw Lexi, aka Newly Nova, do this as the first video, and then I did a search and I saw that there have been loads of these, so I just want to be super clear, not my original idea, but I love the concept because I think that it's really helpful to be able to look at all of a creator's favorite books, top books, and see how they prioritize them. It could be helpful to viewers to know, okay, these are the ones that I should prioritize first, or if you couldn't care less about following my personal reading, maybe it'll just be entertaining for you. But before we get into the tier ranking, a shout out to today's sponsor, Babbel. Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world. It's scientifically proven by researchers at Yale University, Michigan State University, and other major institutions to help you start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks. I've been working on my Spanish through Babbel because we have been to Puerto Rico a few times. We love it so much. I plan to go back and would love to visit Costa Rica and other places. And when we go and travel, we like to not focus so much on the touristy areas, but we like to go explore the wonders that the country has to offer outside of that as well, which means that it's helpful to know the language of the country that you're visiting. And personally, I love building connections wherever I go. I like meeting people, learning their stories, and getting to know them. It's a big part of travel for me, and learning the language is a big part of making that possible. And naturally, it's nice to know how to say me llamo es Murphy, but it's more helpful to be able to have a full-on conversation with someone and be able to actually get to know them and know their story. And with summer coming up, travel is coming closer for a lot of us, and with just 10 minutes a day, Babbel can help us meet our goals.
Muchas gracias. Nosotros ya estamos en el jardín.
Nosotros ya estamos en el jardín.
¿Y quién es ese niño?
Él es mi hijo y ella es mi hija.
Ah, ellos están en la misma clase que nuestro hijo.
Qué pequeño es el mundo.
Qué pequeño es el mundo. So use the link in my description to get 60% off of your subscription, and let me know what language you're planning on trying to learn through Babbel as well. Thank you, Babbel, for sponsoring this video, and thank you to you for checking them out. Back to the video. Okay, so I am super inconsistent historically in giving out star ratings, unfortunately. I don't mean to be the way that I am, but I am. So, over the last, in 2024, I've been consistent and I've star rated the books that I have read, but it kind of varies year to year if I'm doing star ratings or if I'm just not. So I went through the spreadsheet that my friend Lynn keeps, love you Lynn, and I picked out all the books that if I didn't rate them 5 stars because I wasn't rating anything, just gut instinct, I think that would have been a 5-star book. So we're going to go through all the books that I rated 5 stars over the past 5 years, and we're going to tier rank them. So for this tier list, I have at the top, we have Made for Me. This is a book that feels like it was made with me in mind. This is the perfect book for me. I have no notes. I want it to stay perfectly intact with no edits. Perfect book. Naturally, there aren't going to be a lot of books in that top category. The next category is Echoes in My Mind. This is above a 5-star read. This is if I had more than 5 stars to give, this book would have exceeded that. Obviously, the top tier is also that, but this is beyond just this was a 5-star book. This is a book that I can't shake. It holds on to me. I think about it I think about it too often still after reading it. This book lives with me. Then we have 5 stars. These are books that got 5 stars. This is still a very good thing. Then we have Maybe. I don't know if I would still give this 5. I question. Could use a reread to figure that out. And then the final ranking tier is we don't trust Old Murphy. Since I'm going back 5 years, there are certain books that I look at that I'm like, I know I gave that 5 stars, but would I today? I'm not so sure. And again, this might not be the most exhaustive list because I am inconsistent historically on if I'm actually giving out tier rankings or not. So if there's something that you think should have been in this video that didn't make it in the video, feel free to yell at me in the comments. I will read your yells. Can't do anything about it, but I'll read it. And the tier maker website randomizes files when I put it in there. So this isn't according to any sort of order, any reading order. First book on the list is Something Wicked This Way Comes. This was a recent read for me. This is a horror. It's a middle grade horror. I loved everything about this book, except the end was a little bit cheesy to me. And here's an here's a video earlier this year that I made talking about why endings aren't an end-all be-all for me. If a book is fantastic but it has a lackluster end, that doesn't keep me from giving it 5 stars. It doesn't ruin the book for me. Now, it does keep me from it ever reaching an echoes in my mind or made for me kind of level of love, but it's still a 5 star, so you are still 5 stars. Next we have And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. So, oh my goodness, I love this book. This is an older one and one that it echoes in my mind. Does it echo in my mind or was it made for me? You know what? I'm actually going to let this be the first. I'm going to let it be I'm going to let it be made for me. I'm going to let it be made for me. And the reason is because this book, so this book, I'm not going to describe every single book in this video, otherwise we'd be here too long, but this book is about dementia and a grandpa, a son, and a grandson as they're walking through the progression of that in the grandfather, and dementia runs in my family. And it's something that I've lived with and watched the progression of in my own family members, and that I currently, assist my Oma, my grandmother, with today. I assist her in her needs because of dementia. And so I just felt seen by this book. I just felt seen. I'm gonna make it be echoes. It's echoes because it sticks with me, but it doesn't feel like a book of my heart. It doesn't feel like a book that was made for me, but it sticks to me. Wizard's Guide of Defensive Baking. It's a 5-star book. I can't really explain it. It almost feels like it should be a maybe because it's so outside of what I typically would give 5 stars, but it's a 5-star. We're gonna roll with that. We have some Wheel of Time books on here, which are I read the Wheel of Time series 5 years ago, and I loved the concluding 4 books, but I can't remember how I would rank them because it's been so long. So I think I'm just gonna stick each and every one of them just in, but I do have the maybe category for a reason, and I don't know that I would still give all 4 of those books 5 stars. You know what? Of the concluding books, the ones that really stand out in my mind still are books 11 and 14, so that's the way I'm going to handle this. Because books 11 and 14 are the ones that really still stick with me, and I don't remember all the details from the others, and I'm not entirely sure how I would rank them anymore, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm not 100% sure of what my ranking today would be, but I do know that Knife of Dreams and Memory of Light were 5-star books and would still be today, I believe. Last Argument of Kings. Wow. Ooh, the way this video has ordered things, it's kind of making people irritated with me early. Last Argument of Kings. Here's my problem. I know Last Argument of Kings was a 5-star book for me. I love the conclusion of the original First Law trilogy. But the problem is that the Age of Madness trilogy was so exceedingly extraordinary that I look at the original First Law and I'm like, I know I love you, but I love you so much more that how can you also be 5 stars? Do you ever have that where you're reading a series and you love something 5 stars worth, and then you read more books in that same series, and then you say, wait a second, what does 5 stars mean anymore? Here's what I'm going to do. Last Argument of Kings is still going to maintain its 5-star status, but all of Age of Madness is going to... That seems wrong, though. But does it? Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm so sorry. I'm a mess. Trouble with Peace, Wisdom of Crowds are both going to be echoes in my mind, because they do. There are certain scenes and characters and reveals and scenes that have a little hatred is going to be at the top of the 5-star, and that's just the way I need to cope with the fact that Abercrombie is an extraordinary writer. Oh, I also have Best Served Cold on here, so I'm gonna make sure that that's up there with all the Abercrombies. Okay, next up we have Under the Black Flag. This is, okay, so last year I read like 4 or 5 pirate nonfictions. I was on a bit of a kick, and Under the Black Flag was my favorite of the pirate nonfictions that I read. It was just a collection of legends and what history we know of famous historical pirates. And I did give it 5 stars, and I think it should stay. It's just lower on the list. It's fine. Defiant, the conclusion to the Skyward trilogy. Oh, interesting. I don't have Skyward in here. It should be in here. Okay, let's pretend Skyward and Defiant are both here. That's my bad. But Skyward and Defiant are pretty much tied as my favorites of the Skyward trilogy, and they are easily 5-star books for me. The Dark Forest echoes in my mind. The Dark Forest haunts me. The Dark Forest upsets me. The Dark Forest, it's the droplet scene. It's the droplet scene. I can't stop thinking about it. Midnight Tides is a 5-star book for me. It stays a 5-star book for me. I love it. Midnight Tides is extremely, extremely good. Honestly, the Malazan books do meld together a little bit. So, but I know that when I ranked them in my Discord recently, Midnight Tides was number 3 or 4. It was high up. Wickwire Watch is a recent read. It is a 5-star. Just to be clear, if I didn't say this at the beginning of the video, the top 2 tiers are not going to have a ton of books on them. Most things are going to be cleanly in the this is a 5-star book, which is a good ranking. It's a good thing. Oh, okay. Monday is Not Coming. Another book that haunts me. It echoes in my mind. There are scenes, there are things that happen. There's the emotional that the things that we were meant to pull away from it, the warning that we were meant to pull away from it, yeah, it sticks with me. The Posthumous Memoirs of Brás Cubas is a Brazilian classic, and when I read it, I enjoyed it so much. I will admit that looking back, I'm not sure if it would be a 4-star or a 5-star for me. I've had some great discussions on it, specifically in the comments when I've talked about it in videos. I've really enjoyed discussing it with people. It's been a bit, it might be more like a 4-star for me today, but I did love this book. The Bone Hunters it echoes in my mind. There's one scene in particular, very long scene in particular, that is like probably still my favorite Malazan scene in the series so far. Jurassic Park. This is a book. So many people prefer the movie over the book, and don't hear me wrong. I love the movie. I grew up watching the movie, and I read the book as an adult, but I like the book better. I really loved this book. So it's gonna stay 5 stars. Then we have Guards Guards. I absolutely love these books. It's Guards Guards, Feet of Clay, Guards Guards, Men at Arms, and Feet of Clay. If I can find Men at Arms in here. Men at Arms, I know you exist. I know I put you in the folder. Somebody find it for me. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Men at Arms. All of these books are 5-star books to me. For those who are wondering about my Discworld journey, I read a Discworld book every single month the year of 2023, and then 2024 I've slowed down. I think I've read 1 or 2. I think I've only read 1 so far this year, but I do have one that I'm reading in April, and I switched to chronological, and I've switched back because while I was enjoying doing chronological, I missed the City Watch. So I'm going back, and in April I'll be reading the next City Watch book, and I'm going back to reading by arc. Will I stick with this? Will I go back to chronological? I don't know. I'm a mess. I'm so sorry about that. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy! Book 1 was made for me. Book 1, this book, and I know so many of you love it too, so I'm sorry for the insult to you who have loved this your whole life, and then here I come along, having read it just last year, and I'm like, this is my book, it belongs to me, so I'm sorry about that. But also, I love this book so much. The humor in these books is top tier. The absurdity of it, the nonsense of it, but the cleverness of it. And I know I just talked about Pratchett, and Pratchett deserves all that praise as well, which is why Pratchett is in the 5 stars, because I absolutely love Pratchett. But you have to understand how much I love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I love Marvin so much. I love the beginning of this story with the intergalactic, well, with the highway. His house is going to be bulldozed to make room for a highway, and then the Earth gets destroyed to make room for an intergalactic highway. The parallels that come throughout it, the logic that happens, the fast-paced nonsense, but so clever. The play on words. It's just these books are. This first book is perfect to me. And honestly, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or if this is common thought. You can let me know what you think in the comments. Personally, book 2 is near just as good. I love book 2 as much as I love book 1. After that, we can have some discussions, but books 1 and 2 are perfect books to me. In holidays, we don't trust old Murphy. I don't read a lot of romance, and when I do, I tend to be really annoying, which is why I just don't really talk about it on my channel very much when I read a romance, because I'm just not fun. And I don't mean to be. It's just that it's just not my thing. And so I have a really hard time just getting swept up in it. And instead I kind of analyze everything. And I'm just very sorry about that. In a Holidays was a book that I got swept up in. I actually just really, really loved it. And I don't know if I don't know. I can't explain it. I went through a short stint of where I read like 4 romance books back to back to back, or really close together. And this was the one that I was like, this is the book. I found a romance book that I love. And then I read several others and I was like, okay, I'm over it. But this book, I loved it. And I don't want to reread it because I want to keep those good memories. Mad Ship is the middle book in the Live Ship Traders series, and I adored it. I love this whole trilogy. All 3 of these books were excellent, but I think I would give books 1 and 3 probably closer to like 4 stars, maybe 4.5, and then the middle book was... I'm a middle book girl. I don't know if that's... I hear people talk about middle book syndrome all the time, and there are definitely series that have middle book syndrome as it's described by people, but I usually love the middle book the most. The Trouble with Peace is my favorite, Age of Madness. The Dark Forest is my favorite in The Remembrance of Earth's Past. Wall of Storms is my favorite in the Dandelion Dynasty. Mad Ship is my favorite in Live Ship Traders. I don't know. Lies and Red Seas are tied. They're both extraordinary. Half a World is my favorite in Joe Abercrombie's series that nobody talks about, the Viking one. The Two Towers is my favorite for the Lord of the Rings. Mistborn eras 1 and 2. The middle book is my favorite. And that's not to say this, The Words of Radiance is my favorite. And Stormlight, I'm not special. But my point is that while there are definitely books where I read book 1, love it, and then kind of fall off after book 1 because the sequels don't do as much for me, or the second book doesn't match, that definitely happens for me. But I love middle books. And even in series where a lot of people are like, oh, that middle book, like for instance, Mistborn Era 1, it's my book. I don't know. I love middle books. Okay, Mad Ship, sorry. Mad Ship is easily a 5 star still. My Dark Vanessa was my first book of 2020. I remember it because 2020 was a year and Vanessa was a book. This echoes in my mind. This sticks with me. This book sticks with me. I still think about it often. I actually just recommended it to a friend last week. And I recommended it to another friend last month, or 2 months ago. I don't stop thinking about this book. So yeah, that 4 years ago, and I still don't stop thinking about this book. Words of Radiance, absolutely love, excellent book. Gonna put it there. Let's put it there. Annihilation, it was made for me. This book is mine. It belongs to me. It was made for me. This book, I love it so deeply. I've read it twice in the last year. I'll probably be reading it again very soon. I think about it all the time. It's one of those books. Do you ever have books where you finish it and then it just like, it's like it settles into your chest. Like, and then when you think about it, that feeling bubbles up in your chest and your whole body like vibrates, and you're just thinking about, this book was so good. This book did everything I needed it to do. Do you have that feeling sometimes? So, just me. That's how I feel about this book. I love this book so much. I don't know if I should... I'm just going to put it between the two Hitchhikers books, because I don't know where I would rank it at this moment, is between as far as Hitchhikers goes, but I do know that this book has a physical reaction out of me when I think about it. Beartown haunts me. Beartown haunts me. By the way, my friend recently messaged me. I'll call him out. Jimmy recently messaged me, and he was like, hey, I'm reading this book by this abstract author. I wonder if you've heard about it. I think you would like it. It's called Beartown by Fredrik Backman. Alan recommended it to me, and it seems like something you would enjoy. And I just like really almost stopped being Jimmy's friend in that moment. Do I not talk about Bachman enough? Do I need to start talking about Bachman in every single video again, like I did when I was binge reading all of his books and wouldn't shut up about him, and my comment section started telling me to shut up about him? Do I need to go back to doing that? Anyway, Beartown as well as Us Against You are both books that stick with me. Think about them. Extraordinary. The Winners, book 3, not a 5-star book for me. Still enjoyed it, but did not match the first 2 for me. A Man Called Ove, 5-star book. Absolutely love it. I don't know if I liked Ove or Beartown more. I just know that Beartown echoes in my mind, where Ove just makes my heart feel something. Oh, Ove is one of the few reviews that I openly cry in. Really? It is. Yeah, I really felt something for that book. Okay, so Shadow of Self. I think that's book 3 in Mistborn Era. No, that's book 2. So that's my favorite Mistborn Era 2 book, I think. Chess Story, one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. Total surprise. Absolutely out of left field. Never would have guessed, but I loved it so much. I'm gonna put it right there, maybe? Oh, what am I doing? Era 2 is not in front of Discworld. Sorry. Wall of Storms. See... Yeah, it's gonna echo in my mind. I'm not gonna think too hard about it. I love the Dandelion Dynasty so much. Only Wall of Storms and Speaking Bones are in this video because I would give Way of Kings, sorry, I would give Grace of Kings and The Veiled Throne each 4 stars. But the series as a whole, one of the best series I've ever read. Mapping the Interior, I think it would have still been echoing in my mind if I had done this video a year ago. That sentiment has softened a little bit. It made it into my best books of 2023, I think. Oh, so if I did this a year ago, I would have just read it. Okay, well then I'm just gonna put it in 5 stars. Dead House Gates. I actually put it above Midnight Tides in my ranking when I did the ranking on my Discord, and only because I think Midnight Tides, wait, am I thinking correctly? Oh, no. Sorry. I got Memories of Ice at Midnight. Midnight Tides is my number 2. Sorry for earlier Murphy. See, we don't trust old Murphy. I can't keep track of anything. So, okay, apologies. Midnight Tides is my number 2. Bone Hunters is my number 1. And then Dead House, and then Memories of Ice. Where are you? There it is. Memories of Ice is behind Dead House Gates. Oh, sorry, Pratchett. I didn't realize you were... Gosh, and the only reason is because I think Dead House Gates and Memories of Ice are basically even to me, but there's a few scenes in Dead House Gates that just really just about echo in my mind, so that's why it edges Memories of Ice out for me, at least in my first read through. Children of Time is still a solid 5-star book for me. I love it. It's great. Don Quixote. I'm actually going to put it in maybe. Not because I don't love it. I do. But with some time apart from it, it is too long for what it is. There are so many side tangents, long side tangents, and so I do wonder if on reread it might be more like a 4-star. I don't know, I might be out of line, but it's one that I feel like maybe on reread I might not feel exactly the same. Amari, I loved book 1. I think I loved book 2 as much as book 1, if I'm remembering correctly. Yellow Wallpaper. I'm going to be honest, that one still kind of echoes in my mind a little bit. This is a little novella or short story. It might not even qualify as a novella. It's so short. I don't have it anymore because I sent it to a friend. I don't think he ever read it. I sent it to him like 2 years ago. But anyway, Yellow Wallpaper. I should just buy another copy. I really love that book. Novella, short story. It was a book that I read knowing nothing about. A subscriber sent it to me. I didn't know anything about it. And then I read it and it just like floored me. Very intriguing and interesting all the way through. But then once I got to the ending, I was just like, what? It's just, what a great experience. And then I did a bunch of research on it, learned about what the author was going through at the time and what she was trying to get across through it. And even the, psychological advancement that was made with certain psychologists when they read this book and they were like, oh, we should not be treating patients with this certain treatment. I'm trying not to say too much because it's so short and I'd love for you to read it if you haven't. And like, so the impact, the societal impact that this little story had, and then I read it again and I just, this is Frenchman's Creek. Oh no, Frenchman's Creek. You know what? This is gonna, you can think about me some kind of way with how I feel about Frenchman's Creek. It's okay. I kind of judge myself too. Frenchman's Creek was made for me. I don't endorse this book. The main character, Mary was her name. I don't remember now. The main character, I disagree with near every choice she made. I do not view her and feel some sort of kinship to her. I just want to make that super clear because she made some bad choices. But this book was written for me. I read this book for the first time when we went to Puerto Rico for the first time. And reading Daphne du Maurier write a nautical pirate-esque story while I was at the ocean exploring a new land in a place that's rich with pirate history. It's an experience that I will never forget. And I loved this book so much, and I know on reread, that won't change. I don't necessarily recommend it for you, but it's one of my favorite books. For the Lady Trent series, there's 5 books, and the last 3 books are excellent. The last 2 books are extraordinary. They're both 5-star books for me. I'm just going to keep them in the 5-star category. I love these books. I think book 4 a little bit more than book 5. Dead Silence. This is another one of those books that I'll refer you back to my endings video, because this is another one of those books where it was 5 stars all the way through, and then we got to the ending, and the ending was not what I would have chosen. So it was a bit of a letdown, but that didn't change the fact that it was a 5-star book. It didn't change the impact of this book the whole way through. So for me, this is still a 5-star book. Dawn. Oh, Dawn. Dawn is a book. I'm trying to decide, should it echo in my mind or should it just be a 5-star book? I'm going to just stick to 5 stars, and I'm going to put it really high in the 5-star category. Dawn, I absolutely loved, but it was also extremely disturbing, especially in certain parts. And I did DNF the series, and I probably won't revisit it because I don't always love the way Butler handles consent or explores consent. And book 2 brought a child main character became a component, and I noped out. And I'm not trying to say anything about Butler with that. I'm just, for me, that's not something that I like to touch or even can. So I just don't. But book 1, man, I absolutely love Butler's writing, and what a fascinating take on First Contact. Deadbeat, easily my favorite Dresden book. I believe when I talked about it, I called it the correct kind of nonsense, and I'm just going to stand by that. I absolutely love this book. I have not found a Dresden book yet to beat Deadbeat, although I've been assured that I will. Lies of Locke Lamora, are you surprised? This book was made for me. It was made with me in mind. Scott Lynch hadn't met me yet. I hadn't met him yet. I still haven't, but, in my mind. And, but yet he knew. He knew that these books were mine. Kindred haunts me. It echoes in my mind. This book, I think about it all the time. Daggone. What an excellent book. His Majesty's Dragon, excellent book. The sequels have not matched the first book for me yet, but loved the first book, and I enjoyed the 2 other books that I read too. Now the Mannequins, still a 5-star. Republic of Thieves is a 5-star still for me. Though I have my complaints, though I don't think it's the perfect book, it's a gentleman bastard. What am I gonna do? Half the World is the Abercrombie book that I was talking about, the series, the Abercrombie trilogy that nobody talks about. I read them all. I'll link the video, I guess, if you want. I read them all, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's good stuff. It's not, obviously, it's not Abercrombie it's not Age of Madness, but it was really good time, so do recommend if you ever want to try it. Half a King, the first book, was good, but not great, and then I thought Half a World and Half a War were both very good. Haunting of Hill House, great book. The Secret Garden. We're not going to trust old Murphy on that one. So the thing is, The Secret Garden holds a lot of attachment to me because I read this when we were finalizing the adoption. We were going through court dates. We were traveling away from home to get all these final things done and to finally adopt our daughter. We were just killing time. We went into a bookshop. I bought The Secret Garden because it had a pretty cover. And I read that while we were waiting through what was a very difficult, we had some roadblocks and some hiccups at the end, and it was terrible. It was a very emotional time for me. And once it was all finalized, I actually read a couple of chapters of The Secret Garden to my daughter while I was reading it, read it aloud to her. So it's very special to me. Plus, the imagery of the garden, it was so beautiful. It was so beautifully described. There's a lot about this book that was very special to me, but it's also a very flawed book, and with some distance from my emotional attachment to having read it when I read it, we don't trust old Murphy. Still a lot of great memories, though. Way of Kings, easily a 5-star book. Last Quintista. I'm gonna put this in maybe. The Last Quintista, I had such an emotional reaction to. I had such attachment to the characters and to everything that was happening. I loved the way it was written. I cried over a certain scene at the end, which I still remember very vividly, even though I read it years ago, and I have a terrible memory. I don't know that I would still rate it 5 stars. It might be a 4 today if I were to reread it, but I won't reread it because I have wonderful memories of that book, and but we're just gonna say maybe. Bone Shard Daughter, I'm also putting in maybe, because, where did it go? Because I loved this trilogy I love the first book so much, and I thought that book 2 was also very good, and then book 3 was good, and it just seems like book 1 was the tops, and I wonder if book 1 was the tops because I read it at the right time and so it was perfect at the time, or if it's just that, I would still give it a 5-star today. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if I would still rate it 5 stars today, but I sure did love it when I read it. Death's End, still 5-star. I'm not trying to, all my 5 stars, I'm not trying to make sure that their ordering is perfect anymore. Ember Blade, still a 5-star. Frenchman's Creek, wait a second! Oh, shucks. I just had that big old monologue about Frenchman's Creek when I was talking about, why does it have a pirate ship on it? This one's Frenchman's Creek. This is Jamaica Inn. Why does Jamaica Inn have a pirate ship on it? My copy of Jamaica Inn doesn't have a pirate ship. Okay, Jamaica Inn is 5 stars. My Cousin Rachel, another Daphne du Maurier. I really love Daphne du Maurier. My Cousin Rachel, so I read Rebecca long enough ago that it's not on this list, but to this day I stand by Rebecca is du Maurier's most popular book, and it deserves to be popular. Rebecca is extraordinary, but new readers of du Maurier, if you enjoyed Rebecca, you got to read My Cousin Rachel, because while Frenchman's Creek is my favorite du Maurier, My Cousin Rachel, I think, is her best. I mean, again, Frenchman's Creek, that book was made for me. It was made with me in mind, even though du Maurier is, a classic writer. This is a long time ago. But My Cousin Rachel is her best book. I love Rebecca. It's very good. But you should be reading My Cousin Rachel. I'm so curious, other du Maurier fans in the comments, do you agree with me? Do you think I'm, way off base? You can fight me on that. It's okay. 5 stars. Door to Door Bookstore. Honestly, I read it earlier this year and I do wonder, should I have been 5 stars? Was I right to do that? It's like, I guess I kind of feel about it the same way I feel about Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, where it's like right on the cusp. Like maybe both of these should have been 4.5, but we'll leave them at 5 because I love them. Still Alice, I'm going to put in maybe because I read it so long ago that I'm not 100% sure it would still be 5 stars, but I do vividly remember that book. And it's another book about dementia. Personal topic for me, you know. House of Salt and Sorrows, I'm going to put in We Don't Trust Old Murphy. I read this book. This is another book that I just read at the right time. It's another nautical book. I read it at the right time. We were visiting Tybee Island. We were visiting lighthouses, exploring lighthouses. I was staying up late at night reading it. It was a very atmospheric book. It was very nautical, creepy. There was a lighthouse scene that was horrifying. Looking back, I feel confident that if I reread this, it would not still be 5 stars, but it was 5 stars at the time. And I want to be clear that that 5 stars at the time was earned. It was the perfect time for me to be reading this book, and it felt 5 stars in the moment. But I also just know that who I am, what I read, what I recommend, this isn't it. Yumi the Nightmare Painter as well as Trust are both 5-star books for me. I love these books, and House of Open Wounds, I just read this, so yeah, it's still 5 stars. There you go. Those are all the books that I am aware of that I read that I gave 5 stars within the last 5 years. Are there any books on this list that were a surprise to you? Is there anything that you're now going to pick up because I love them? And are there any books that you picked up because I have gushed and then you read it and you were like, what are you on about? Why do you like this so much? Because I feel like that happens to me a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was fun for me. Be sure to check out Babbel. Again, they're linked in the description. And be sure to chat with me more in the comments about what you think about any of these books. I'll see you again soon. Bye.